Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
This is Science for Humans with Dr. Jeff Galini.
Dr. J.
Hey, Carl, how's it going?
Fantastic, man. How you doing? I'm
doing awesome, man. Thanks.
It's true, right? There's certain things that stand the test of time, right? Creatine, B vitamins. These are things that we know from generation to generation. Liver tabs that I think you're going to reintroduce eventually. We know that these things seem to always work, but because they've been around so long, they're just not sexy anymore. We forget about it. And Epsom salt falls into that, doesn't it?
You know, it does. And, you know, a lot of people probably remember their grandma or grandpa, you know, soaking in it or doing something, as I did when I was a kid. You know, anytime you had an ailment, it was Epsom salts. But, yeah, you're right. You know, it seems too simple. It's inexpensive. It's sold, you know, everywhere, and people just kind of forget about it, and they suffer with all these ailments that are really easy to take care of.
Now, did you use Epsom salt when you were bodybuilding back in the day out at Venice Beach?
Oh, I sure did. I sure did.
Regular Epsom?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Well, I was going to say, a friend of mine, I had gotten a Facebook message, Dr. Gaglia, down in Venice, who him and I bodybuilded back in the day, and he's now has a big training center in Santa Monica, and he still you know, has people do this, which we're going to talk about later in the show. But his are, you know, athletes, models, people who have to do photo shoots. But absolutely, I used it quite often.
Why is it called Epsom salt? What is it?
That's a good question, and I'll tell you where that name came from. It actually came from this bitter saline spring over in Epsom in Surrey, England. Oh. And basically dip in this spring if they had all types of ailments, and there were all kind of miraculous healings and things taking place. And as time went on, you know, it was discovered that this spring had naturally occurring the mineral compound magnesium and sulfate, very, very high. And that's kind of what led to, wow, this is pretty cool stuff. But you know, that's kind of where it got its name.
They do that here, too. There's an area of Indiana called French Lick and West Baden. And back in the day, before airplanes, when people of wealth had their own train cars, they used to see kings, queens, dignitaries, presidents, gangsters would all go to West Baden because they have something there called the Pluto, Pluto springs. And Pluto water smells so disgusting. It smells like sulfur, and it's got so much mineral, but they used to bathe in it, and the people would say that it would remove, people who had diseases would go there and bathe in these springs for the whole summer and go home well. The same thing with upstate New York, Saratoga Springs.
Yeah. It's interesting, you know, and I wanted to also say that, you know, Epsom salts isn't the same thing as sea salt or, you know, table salt. Even though it's called a salt, it's because typically when there is a mineral bound to some salt like sulfate, we just kind of classify it as a salt, but it's completely different. Mm-hmm. Now, there is some benefits of seawater. You know, when I used to bodybuild, I used to like to get into that seawater. Getting that salt, you know, just helps to tighten the skin and stuff up, but completely different.
Okay, so now we know where Epsom salt comes from. So you said it's basically magnesium sulfate, right?
Correct. That's what it is.
So why is this so magical?
You know, what makes it magical is it has a drawing property to it. When you get into a warm bath or a spring, you know, typically they're a little bit warmer in some of these areas, you're going to create a reverse osmosis process, which means this will draw out anything that is, subcutaneous, toxins, poisons, inflammation. It actually draws it out. When I was a kid, this is what my grandpa and grandma used to do. If you had, a sprain, a cut, anything, they would soak you in Epsom salts because of that drawing property. So, number one, it draws those toxins out, but then it reverses where the skin is very porous. So, again, things can come out, but things can go in. Then your body will actually start absorbing those two minerals, magnesium and sulfate, which then you got all the benefits of what those two things do.
And what are some of those benefits? I mean, we've learned a lot about sulfate. It's dramatically missing in our environment and our diet, and we're starting to understand a very important role it plays in detoxifying the body or allowing the body to protect itself against toxins. But what's the magic of magnesium and sulfate independently?
Well, you look at magnesium, I mean, it plays a role in over 325 enzymes and processes in our body. It helps improve muscle and nerve function, reduces inflammation, improves blood flow, and then oxygenates the body. So, I mean, it's such an important mineral that is crucial to our daily health. And, we've done shows on magnesium, and yes, you get it from your foods. You can get it from supplementation, but this is another way to draw it into the actual area. Now, as you said, sulfates, I mean, they're really important, and, that's probably things that we are lacking as Americans especially, but they're necessary for building healthy joints and skin, nerve tissues. So, again, it's very important to kind of keep that sulfate balance where it needs to be and regulated.
Now, you can pretty much buy Epsom salt at any drugstore. Should you just buy any Epsom salt, just grab whatever bag willy-nilly, or are there different qualities, grades? What should we look for?
What you don't want to use when we're talking about Epsom salts, it isn't those tutti-frutti bath salts, that have fragrances and stuff in it. Don't use those because, again, remember, whatever is with Epsom salts, it's going to draw that into the system. That stuff is poison, So you got to be careful with what you do. The same thing as, you don't want to use soap in an Epsom salts bath. But for the most part, it's what you buy at the pharmacy. It's relatively inexpensive. It comes in usually a half-gallon milk-looking type carton, kind of the old paper ones.
Right.
And you just need to make sure that it says pure magnesium sulfate. Look at the ingredients. Make sure there's nothing else in there. Like I said, no fragrances or, colors and dyes and things. That's it. I mean, it's basically all the same.
And fragrance, for those of you who are starting to understand this, the way they encapsulate a fragrance so that it stays in a perfume, in a cologne, or in a scented Epsom salt is they use phthalates, and we know that phthalates are they are androgen receptor blockers. They will attach themselves to the androgen receptor, and they can actually affect young male children and obviously adults as well. So you don't want Epsom salt with fragrance of any type. I don't care whether it says, it's natural fragrance. Forget about it. Just get the plain old Epsom salt, has no scent at all. Would you agree with that?
I do. And when you look at, some of the reasons why they promote, you put lavender, it helps you to relax, you put this in there, you put that in there. It's more of a selling standpoint. Again, you got to understand, what Epsom salts is about and why that you don't want anything in there with it. So, yeah, I do agree. And normally those things are about 10 times the cost. You get a little jar of it, and, it could be as much as $10, where a big old half gallon of Epsom salts is a couple dollars. I mean, it's really inexpensive.
So, is there a proper way to make an Epsom salt bath? Okay. So here's what I do, and you tell me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
I put a lot of Epsom salt in my bath. I know that the Epsom salt I buy comes with a 1 cup scooper, and you're supposed to put that in your bath. But I believe more is better, and so I generally put 5 or 6 of those scoopers. Is that a mistake?
I mean, not really. I mean, there is a point where you oversaturate the water. So, I mean, I kind of have my recipe that I put together over the years, but again, everybody could be different. So the first thing is, warm water. And when I mean warm, as hot as you can stand.
Right.
Because again, nice hot bath helps to open the pores up. And then depending on, your age and your body weight is kind of what I have it tuned into. So for myself, I will use 2 cups per bath.
Okay.
I'd recommend, somebody a little bit smaller, under 200 pounds, about 1.5 cups. 6 cups, again, you're really saturating that. You're not going to get a whole lot of that into your system.
So I'm wasting it, basically.
Yeah, it doesn't really give you much benefit. It's not going to hurt you. Now, the key is, Epsom salts is really fairly instant. So, I just put it over underneath the spigot as the water's coming in, and you just stir it with your hand or foot, and then you get into the bath. Now, if you're looking for a detoxification with it, you're going to need about 40 minutes, about 20 minutes to pull out all those toxins, and then about another 20 minutes for the magnesium and sulfate to go in. If you're just looking for, you've got some type of a sprain or a bruise, again, it's about good 20 minutes if you just want to draw all the stuff out. So, don't get in it, 2-3 minutes and you're out. It really didn't do anything.
Right. And so most people don't sit long enough in a bath in general, in my opinion. Most people get in a bath, they wash, they do their business, and they get out. And the whole idea of a bath is to soak in it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that is my nightly thing. I just love, soaking in the bath. I'll be in there for an hour, man. Come out like a prune,
Yeah. And by the way, now that you said the prune, did you know that if you don't prune, if you notice that you're in a bath for 40 minutes and all of your skin prunes except the skin on your right hand, let's say, that's an early sign of a neurological degeneration.
Oh, wow.
So pruning in the bathtub, my mother used to say, you're done. You look like a raisin. It's time to get out.
Yeah.
Right? So, but that's a good thing. If you do that in water, that means that the nerves that are occupying the outermost portions of the skin are functioning properly. And if you don't get that waterlogged pruning, it could be the sign of some nerve damage in that area. How do you like that one?
That's a good one. And here's another thing. If you want to look at something else that you can do, I put a little olive oil in the Epsom salts because, it's got good polyphenols, antioxidants. It's good on the skin. I've heard of some people adding a little bit of ginger or cayenne. Again, these are all things that are healthy that you would want to get absorbed into the skin, depending on, again, what you're doing. But not, a whole bunch of cayenne so you smell like a taco or something.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, let's talk about some of the things that used to be done with bodybuilders and Epsom salt. And I've got some tips for you, too, how to make a poultice with Epsom salt. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Science for Humans with Dr. Jeff Galini. Do you know how to properly use carbohydrates to ignite your performance in the field and in the gym? You will now, thanks to this free book by EFX Sports. The Carb User's Guide for Maximum Performance reveals why omitting carbohydrates from your diet can totally crush your gains. Ever wonder how many grams you need for your specific sport? Not anymore. We give you the critical number you need to dominate your competition. You'll even discover the super carb that's taking the athletic world by storm. You must try it to believe it. Go to getcarbolin.com/carb guide today and get your copy absolutely free. Once again, it's GetKarbolin.com/CARBGUIDE.
If you take curcumin, you need to pay attention. The best curcumin on earth is metacurcumin. Metacurcumin is up to 277 times more bioavailable and absorbs over 6 times faster than standard curcumin supplements. Metacurcumin even outperforms those supposedly high-performance curcumin products. There's only one metacurcumin by Rev Genetics. You could save 20% off metacurcumin by clicking the banner ad at superhumanradio.com and use superhuman curcumin at checkout. If you want to help stop inflammation in its tracks, you need metacurcumin by Rev Genetics to today.
Never before has an anti-estrogen been so powerful. The triazole formula is built on a potent, all-natural aromatase inhibitor called Pizole, which has been shown in clinical trial to be as effective as a leading prescription aromatase inhibitor. Pizole works in concert with the rest of the triazole formula to control estrogen while simultaneously boosting testosterone significantly. In fact, one of triazole's testers had a 120% increase in total testosterone and a 257% increase in free testosterone. Triazole is available at bodybuilding.com, nutriplanet.com, or where finer supplements are sold. For more information, check out getds.com.
Too much on your mind to fall asleep? Oh, no. It happens to all of us every now and then. Instead of counting sheep, count Sleep Factors, a naturopathic formulated blend that supports falling asleep naturally. No medicated numbing, no harsh interruptions of your body's natural flow. Sleep Factors work in harmony with your body and its natural rhythms, so sleep just happens naturally. Sleep Factors by Michael's Naturopathic Programs. You can find Sleep Factors and Michael's entire line of body-loving naturopathic formulations at your local health food store or online at michaelshealth.com. Practitioner formulated, practitioner approved. MadeByHemp.com sells the highest quality products derived from industrial hemp, raw oils high in CBD, tinctures, and salves. You can also get fashionable apparel made from industrial hemp at MadeByHemp.com. CBD is a constituent of industrial hemp that has no psychoactive properties, but has been shown to provide a variety of health benefits. Go to MadeByHemp.com today and take a look at all of our amazing products. Use the coupon code SHR to save 25% off your entire order. MadeByHemp.com, your one-stop shop for all things hemp on the web.
Now, the #1 best-selling non-hormonal anabolic agent at PredatorNutrition.com. Progenadrex has established itself as the category killer. If you're having difficulty gaining muscle while staying lean, you owe it to yourself to try Progenadrex. 100% of store reviews rated it at 5 stars, the highest possible ranking. And today, right now, there are guys pouring their hearts out in the gym with little or nothing to show for it. Don't waste any more time. Go to PredatorNutrition.com today and get Progenadrex, the world's absolute best drug-free muscle gainer.
The health and performance benefits of phytonutrients are indisputable, but getting all of your phytonutrients from your diet is difficult. That's why Prime Nutrition introduced PhytoForm. PhytoForm has nearly 11 grams of all the micronized veggies, fruits, fiber, minerals, and antioxidants you need. Alfalfa, organic spirulina, and chlorella, plus acai, pomegranate, goji, bilberry, blueberry, raspberry, cranberry, and papaya. Cabbage, spinach, broccoli, beet, the list goes on and on. You won't find a better, more complete fruits and greens blend anywhere. It even includes PQQ, which has been shown to improve mitochondrial biogenesis. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Prime Nutrition banner ad today and use coupon code SHR to save 30% off. Prime Nutrition, the best or nothing.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
Welcome back to Science for Humans. Okay, so you alluded to the fact that your friend that has the training facility, as well as yourself, had some special uses for Epsom salt back in the day when you were bodybuilding, right?
Yeah, you know, there's two uses. Number one, and this goes for, you know, anyone, just not bodybuilding, but any kind of pain and swelling, you know, bruises, sprains. So if I got injured or, you know, sprained, you know, a wrist or an ankle, Epsom salts. If my muscles were sore after a workout, Epsom salts. You know, sometimes when I was into running, my feet would get swollen, Epsom salts. But the biggest trick was about 2 nights before contest day. I utilized Epsom salts to draw the excess sodium, because, again, it draws out toxins, minerals, and things. And it would help me to tighten up the skin and just get that paper-thin last little finishing touch. A lot of MMA guys and wrestlers also use it, again, to lose weight. You know, you're going to sweat a little bit, you're going to lose a bit of water, but, again, as you lose sodium, this is where you actually start to decrease your body weight. But very good for getting rid of that subcutaneous water.
Now, a lot of people don't know this, and I'm going to tell my story about poultice, but a lot of people don't know this, but you can also take Epsom salt orally, right?
You can. You know, it's in a lot of supplements. You know, even on the box, one of the indications, I believe, is for constipation. So, yes, I mean, it is a mineral. It's safe to ingest orally and topically.
And as you point out, that it has this almost it draws out fluid from the body when you soak in it. The way it works as a laxative is it when you take it orally, you end up with something called osmotic. Well, let me rephrase this. There's an osmotic process when you take it orally. It attracts fluid from inside to the inside of the intestines, making it easier to pass whatever is blocking or whatever is constipating you. So it actually attracts fluid. It's really an amazing thing that way through osmosis, as you pointed out in the beginning of this discussion. It works that way if you take it orally as well.
Yeah, so there you go. Epsom salt, something that's really simple. As you said, it's not sexy. It's not, $89 a bottle. It's a couple, $2-3, but it really, really is effective.
Okay.
For any.
Here's a tip. Okay, some of the greatest athletes in the world are not human beings; they're horses. Thoroughbred racehorses. More money is spent on keeping thoroughbred racehorses in the game than any other athlete in the world. And if a football player or a basketball player has an injury, they let him sit out the season. You can't let a horse sit out the season because they have a very, very short, effective span of competition. Epsom salt and something called buoy clay. You can buy a 50-pound bag of buoy clay for between $14 and $16. If you are fortunate enough to have a racetrack, a thoroughbred racetrack in your town, you can go to the local tack shop and buy it, or you can order it online. It's called buoy clay, B-O-W-I-E clay. It is a superfine, very unique form of clay that I understand comes from Bowie, Maryland, and it's bagged up, and it's used to make poultices with. What you do is you take equal amounts of Epsom salt and buoy clay and put them in a bucket or a bowl and add just enough water to make it like a pudding, if you will, and rub that directly on the injured area and let it dry until it wants to start flaking off. You may have to cover it with a shirt or a bandage or something like that, but you will see miraculous results if you've injured a muscle, you've injured a joint, banged something real hard, bruised something. Putting buoy clay with Epsom salt on it will speed the healing process so much faster. It actually pulls the heat out of the injured area, reducing edema from the outside in. It's amazing stuff. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is. I remember once in high school I had sprained my ankle during football season on a Saturday, and they said I'd be out for 6 weeks. I was playing the next weekend, and it was a really sprain. But again, it's just things like Epsom salts.
Amazing stuff. And so, do you think a lot of bodybuilders back in the day would take Epsom salt baths to get that last little bit of fluid out of them to make them drier looking?
Oh yeah, I found out about. I knew about the drawing properties, from my grandparents, but I didn't realize bodybuilders used it till I actually went out to California, and I think it was either Fred Hatfield or Joe Weider or Tim Belknap, one of those guys, told me about it and said this is what everybody does. So quite a few of them did. Like I said, we also utilized the salt water from the ocean. Was great. You'd go get in the salt and get in the sun, and it's kind of like meat as it cures with salt. It helps shrink the skin down. But the Epsom salts was great for getting rid of that water.
Another thing my dad used to tell me, that when you have an open wound, go in. Now, this was true back then. This may not be true today with the way we polluted the oceans. But back then, my father would say, if you have an open wound, go in the salt water, go in the ocean, and stay in there for a while. It'll heal a lot faster. And it used to be true when I was a kid.
Well, yeah. Salt has, even sea salt has that healing property. It's a disinfectant. So even though it's a polluted, I don't know if I do it now, but definitely when I was in California back in the 80s, it was a little cleaner then.
Yeah, you get in the water now in one of the Los Angeles beaches trying to heal your wound, and you may have a syringe stuck in you when you get out. When it floats, it'll float up to you and pin you. You know what I mean? So
I would find some of these mineral springs, they're a little bit cleaner, like you were talking about on the Midwest and East Coast.
Elisa and I go to West Baden at least once a quarter, and we get a Pluto bath. And they have these beautiful rooms set up with these old-fashioned, probably from back in the day, those same bathtubs. Big bathtub, and they fill it up with this water. The water actually gurgles gas when it's coming out of the faucet.
Wow.
And there's the minerals around the faucet have built up over years. It looks like concrete. And they fill it up. It's hot, warm water, and you get in there and you sit in there for 20 minutes at a time. It smells terrible when you first get in there, but after a little while, the sulfur smell is so strong. But we do it about once a quarter, and I think it's a great thing. Even if it doesn't do magic for me, the whole idea that I'm spending some time paying attention to my body, you know what I mean, and trying to heal my body, almost like a ritual. But it's fantastic. It's still West Baden, Indiana. Anybody who lives in Illinois or Michigan, you can drive down to West Baden, Indiana, and get in the Pluto bath yourself. And people have been talking about it for hundreds of years there. It's been around for 100 years. So.
And like you said, it's not going to hurt you. So, even if it doesn't do what it does for most people, it doesn't hurt you. You always got some benefit from those kind of things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so anything else we want to say about Epsom salt, Dr. J?
That is it. You know where to get it. You can get it at, most any pharmacies, grocery stores, health food stores. Everybody sells it. And like I said, remember, just get the plain, no scent, no sticks, nothing else in there.
Right.
That's what you use. And give it a try.
And obviously it's working for you because you're aging extremely, extremely well.
My wife always laughs at me because she'll see the Epsom salts up there. That she goes, "What do you do with that? It's good for me, man. It can still train, and sometimes if you get a little too much sodium, sit in that bath, and it is really relaxing. There's something about sitting in a mineral bath, like you said, whether it's Pluto or Epsom salts. It's just really relaxing.
Yeah. Maybe it harkens us back to the womb. Who knows? The amniotic fluid. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, Dr. J, we'll see you next week, brother.
Thank you much. Take care.